Jake Morrison walked into the big meeting room on the space station. The room was full of aliens from different planets. Some looked like giant bugs. Others looked like rocks that could move. A few were just floating clouds of gas. Jake was the only human in the room. He carried a thick folder with papers inside. The papers had plans for making the galaxy safer. Jake had worked on these plans for 6 months. He thought they were good ideas, but he knew the aliens would not like them. The meeting started when a tall crystal alien named Vexthara spoke. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "We will now hear from the human representative," she said. She did not sound happy about it. Jake stood up and walked to the front of the room. He looked at all the aliens staring at him. Some were making clicking sounds with their mouths, others were changing colors. None of them seemed interested in what he had to say. "Thank you," Jake said. "I want to talk about making our galaxy safer. Humans have some new ideas that could help everyone." A big lizard alien named Korth laughed. His laugh sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. "Humans and their ideas," he said. "What can your people do that we cannot do better?" Jake opened his folder. "In the last year, humans have protected 12 star systems from pirates. We have built new weapons that work better than the old ones. We have also made ships that can travel faster and use less fuel." "Barely protected," said another alien. "This one looked like a giant spider." "My people could have done the same job in half the time, but you did not do the job," Jake said quietly. "We did." The room became very quiet. Some aliens made angry sounds, others started glowing brighter. Jake knew he had said something they did not want to hear. Vexthara spoke again. "Humans have been part of our council for 30 years. In that time you have done small jobs, mining, farming, building things. But you are not ready for big responsibilities." Jake felt his face get hot. "We have saved millions of lives," he said. "We have stopped wars. We have fixed problems that other species could not fix. With luck," said Korth. "Your people fight. With old weapons, your ships are slow. Your technology is simple. You are useful for basic work, but not for important decisions." An alien that looked like a jellyfish floating in the air started to speak. "Humans are new to space. You need more time to learn. Maybe in another 100 years you will be ready to help with real problems." Jake looked around the room. Every alien was nodding or making sounds that meant they agreed. They all thought humans were not good enough. They all thought humans were too weak and too dumb to matter. "What about the Kepler mining operation?" Jake asked. "Humans run that. It gives you the metals you need to build your ships. Anyone can." "Dig holes in the ground," said a small alien with many eyes. "We let humans do it because it is boring work." "What about the food planets?" Jake asked. "Humans grow food for 3 different star systems." "Simple farming," said Vexthara. "Nothing that requires real skill." Jake felt something cold in his stomach. These aliens did not just think humans were weak. They thought humans were stupid. They thought human work was not important. "What about the defense stations around the core worlds?" Jake asked. "Humans built and run most of those." "Maintenance work," said Korth. "We designed the stations. Humans just keep them clean and fix small problems." Jake closed his folder. There was no point in talking anymore. The aliens had made up their minds long ago. They would never see humans as equals. They would never listen to human ideas. They would never give humans the respect they deserved. "Is there anything else?" asked Vexthara. She sounded bored. "No," Jake said. "Nothing else." He walked back to his seat. The aliens started talking about other things. They talked about trade, deals, and border disputes. They made big decisions about the future of the galaxy, but they did not ask Jake what he thought. They did not care what humans wanted. After the meeting, Jake walked out of the room with 2 other humans. Lisa Harper was a captain in the human space fleet. She looked angry. Sam Rodriguez was in charge of human colonies. He looked tired. "How many times have they said no to us?" Lisa asked. 47 times in 2 years, Sam said. "They vote down every idea we have. They give us no money for defense. They will not let us join important committees. Jake stopped walking. He looked out a big window at the stars. How many human colonies are there now? He asked. 212, Sam said. All of them can take care of themselves. We grow our own food. We make our own ships. We mine our own metals. And how many humans work for alien companies? Jake asked. About 60 million, Lisa said. They run power plants and factories. They fix computers and engines. They build almost everything the aliens use. Jake nodded slowly. He was thinking about something. What would happen if all those humans stopped working? The aliens would have problems, Sam said. Big problems. But they think they can replace us easily, Lisa said. They think anyone can do what we do. Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Maybe it is time to let them try. The three humans walked to their ship. They did not talk much on the way home. But Jake was thinking the whole time. He was thinking about 30 years of being ignored. 30 years of being told they were not good enough. 30 years of doing important work that no one appreciated. When they got back to Earth, Jake called a meeting with the human government. He told them about what happened at the Alien Council. He told them about the insults and the dismissive attitudes. He told them about his idea. We have something the aliens need, Jake said. They just do not know it yet. They think we are easily replaceable, but what if we are not? The president of Earth looked interested. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we find out what happens when humans stop working for people who do not respect us, Jake said. We have our own worlds now. We have our own ships and weapons. We do not need them anymore, but they need us, Lisa said. They just do not know it. Then maybe it is time to teach them, Jake said. The room was quiet for a long time. Everyone was thinking about what Jake had said. It was a big decision. It would change everything. How would we do it? Asked the president. Quietly, Jake said. We honor all our contracts. We do not break any agreements. But when contracts end, we do not renew them. When our people finish their jobs, they come home. We just ... and leave. And then? Asked the president. Jake looked out the window at the blue sky of Earth. Then we find out what the galaxy looks like without humans holding it together. The meeting went on for hours. They talked about the risks and the benefits. They talked about what could go wrong, but in the end, they all agreed. Humans had been patient long enough. They had tried to be good partners. They had tried to earn respect through hard work, but respect cannot be earned from people who refuse to give it. Sometimes the only way to show your value is to take it away. The quiet exodus would begin in 3 months, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months later, things started to change across the galaxy. But the changes were so small and quiet that most aliens did not notice them. On the mining planet Kepler 442b, Pete Collins was finishing his last day of work. Pete had run the mining operation for 8 years. His team of 3,000 humans dug up rare metals that were used to build spaceships all over the galaxy. The work was hard and dangerous, but Pete and his people did it well. Pete walked through the big mining facility. One last time, the machines were turned off now. The conveyor belts were empty. The storage areas that used to be full of valuable metals were cleaned out. His assistant, Mary Johnson, came up to him with a tablet computer. All the equipment is packed, boss, she said. The transport ships are ready to leave. Pete nodded. What about the local supervisor? Zekmel barely looked up when I told him we were leaving, Mary said. He just said they would find new contractors. Pete laughed, but he did not sound happy. New contractors, right? He looked at the empty facility. Let him try. The mining operation on Kepler 442b had taken 20 years to build. The humans had designed special machines that could work in the planet's harsh environment. They had figured out how to extract metals from rock that other species thought was worthless. They had built a whole system that worked perfectly. Now it was all gone. On the other side of the galaxy, Amy Foster was closing down the biggest farm in known space. New Eden was a planet covered in huge greenhouse buildings. Inside these buildings, humans grew food for billions of aliens on dozens of different worlds. Amy had spent 15 years learning how to grow plants in the planet's strange soil. She had created new types of fruits and vegetables that could survive long trips through space. She had built a farming system that could feed 3 entire star systems. Now she was shutting it all down. "The seed banks are loaded," reported her chief assistant, Rick Johnson. "All our special plant varieties are coming with us." Amy looked at the empty greenhouses through the window of her office. "What did the planetary government say when you told them we were leaving?" "Governor Hextall said it was no problem," Rick answered. "He said farming was simple work and anyone could do it." Amy shook her head. "Anyone can do it, sure." She picked up a small plant from her desk. It was a new type of grain that could grow in very little water. Amy had spent 3 years developing it. Let them try to figure out how to grow food in soil that kills most plants. Similar things were happening on hundreds of worlds. Human doctors were closing hospitals and medical centers. Human engineers were shutting down power plants and factories. Human teachers were leaving schools where they had taught alien children for years, but they did not break anything. They did not sabotage equipment or steal anything that was not theirs. They simply finished their contracts and left. They took their knowledge and their skills with them. Commander Alex Stone stood on the bridge of his battleship, the ESS Pathfinder. Alex was in charge of moving all the humans to their new homes. It was the biggest moving operation in history. "Status report," he said to his communications officer, Kate Miller. Kate looked at her computer screens. "Outer colonies are 90% evacuated," she said. "Core world operations are at 75% complete. All major industrial facilities have been shut down and evacuated." "What about our military positions?" Alex asked, Lieutenant. Ben Taylor checked his displays. "All human defense stations have been evacuated. We transferred control to automatic systems, but they will only work for 48 hours without maintenance." Alex nodded. The humans were not destroying the defense systems. They were just leaving them to run by themselves. Without human technicians to fix problems and update software, the systems would break down quickly. "Any response from the alien governments?" Alex asked. "A few questions here and there," Kate said. "But mostly they seem to think this is normal business. Individual facilities shut down all the time." That was exactly what the humans were counting on. The aliens were so used to seeing humans as unimportant that they did not notice when humans started disappearing. On the planet Rigel Prime, the main computer center was having problems. The quantum processors that handled communication between star systems were starting to malfunction. These computers were incredibly complex machines that required constant maintenance. The facility manager, an alien named Corthel, was getting worried. "Where is the human maintenance team?" he asked his assistant. "They left yesterday," the assistant replied. "Their contract expired." "Well, get them back," Corthel said. "These machines cannot run without proper maintenance." "I tried calling them," the assistant said. "But their communication office said they are no longer taking contracts in this sector." Corthel was confused. "What do they mean, no longer taking contracts?" "They have maintained these systems for 12 years. "I do not know, sir. But the humans who used to work here have all left the planet." This was happening all over the galaxy. Human-run systems were starting to fail because there were no humans left to fix them. But each individual failure seemed like a small problem. The aliens did not see the bigger picture yet. In the Draconian Empire, General Lexmore was having supply problems. His space fleet needed special fuel that was refined by human-operated facilities. Without this fuel, his ships could not travel between star systems. "Contact the fuel suppliers," he ordered his aide. "Sir, the human refinery on Proxima 7 has been shut down," the aide reported. "The facility that processed fuel for the entire 7th Fleet is no longer operating." "Then find another supplier," General Lexmore said. "I have tried, sir. The Proximan cartel can provide fuel, but they want 12 times the normal price, and they demand payment in advance." General Lexmore was shocked. 12 times the price? "That is robbery." "Yes, sir. But they know we have no other choice." This was the beginning of a pattern that would spread across the galaxy. As human-operated facilities shut down, other species started charging much higher prices for the same services. They knew the aliens were desperate and would pay anything. On the space station that served as the central trade hub, Administrator Nelvin was getting reports that made no sense. Ships were getting lost because navigation beacons were failing. Cargo was piling up because sorting systems were broken. Communication networks were going dark. How is this possible? He asked his logistics coordinator. Sir, we have traced the problems to a common source. All of these systems were maintained by human technical teams. When the humans left, they took their knowledge and spare parts with them. Nelvin looked at his coordinator in disbelief. Humans maintained all of these critical systems? Yes, sir. For decades. We never paid much attention because they worked quietly and rarely asked for help. But now that they are gone, we are discovering how much they actually did. The coordinator pulled up a computer display showing the trade hub's operational status. Red warning lights covered the screen. Sir, without immediate repairs, this facility will be completely non-functional within 30 days. Nelvin stared at the display. Get me a list of every system the humans were responsible for maintaining. An hour later, the coordinator came back with a report that made Nelvin feel sick. Sir, humans directly operated or maintained 40% of all interstellar trade infrastructure. They were responsible for most deep space engineering services. Their work was integrated into almost every major industrial process. 40%? Nelvin could barely believe it. But they were barely represented in the Galactic Council. How could they be so important? Political representation does not reflect economic importance, sir. The humans did essential work, but they did it so well that we forgot they were doing it. The coordinator continued reading from his report. Sir, our preliminary estimates suggest that replacing human expertise and infrastructure will cost 40 trillion credits and take 15 to 20 years. For the first time in his long career, Administrator Nelvin understood what humans called panic. All across the galaxy, the same realization was starting to dawn. The aliens had spent 30 years thinking of humans as junior partners who did simple work. But humans had quietly become the foundation that kept galactic civilization running, and now that foundation was gone, the humans had not declared war. They had not made threats. They had not demanded anything. They had simply packed up their things and left, but sometimes leaving can be the most powerful statement of all. 3 months after the humans started leaving, the galaxy began to fall apart. President Kexandra of the Arcturian Republic stood in her emergency meeting room. Her tentacles were shaking with fear and anger. Around the table sat her most important advisors. They all looked worried. Explain to me how this happened, she said in a voice that could cut steel. Trade Minister Veltar clicked his claws nervously on the table. Madam President, the entire Proxima shipping lane has gone dark. 67 cargo ships are floating in space with no way to navigate. They cannot find their way to their destinations. Why can they not navigate? President Kexandra demanded. The navigation beacons are not working. The humans operated all the deep space beacons in that sector. When they left, they took their equipment with them. President Kexandra felt her blood turn cold. Then buy new beacons from someone else. That is the problem, Madam President. The humans designed those beacon systems. No one else knows how to build them or fix them. The technology is completely human-made. Trade Minister Veltar continued reading from his report. Without those beacons, ships cannot travel safely through deep space. Pirates are already attacking the stranded vessels. We have lost contact with 17 ships completely. President Kexandra realized she was facing a disaster bigger than any war. How many other systems depend on human technology? We are still counting, Madam President. But the preliminary numbers are frightening. On the other side of the galaxy, General Dexmore of the Draconian Star Empire was discovering his own problems. He stood in his command center watching red warning lights flash on every screen. Report, he ordered his staff. Sir, our logistics network has collapsed, his aide said. Half of our fleet cannot get fuel. The other half cannot get spare parts. For repairs? How is that possible? General Dexmore roared. The humans handled fuel refining for our entire fleet, sir. They also manufactured most of our replacement parts. Without them, our ships are slowly breaking down. General Dexmore looked at his tactical display. His mighty space fleet, the pride of the Draconian Empire, was becoming useless metal floating in space. What about buying fuel from other sources? We tried, sir. The Proximan cartel will sell us fuel, but they want 20 times the normal price. They know we are desperate. 20 times? General Exmore could barely believe it. What about spare parts? Even worse, sir. The Crystalline Federation might be able to make some parts, but they want 50 times the normal price and 6 months advance payment. General Exmore realized his empire was being held hostage by suppliers who knew he had no choice. Meanwhile, on Rigel Prime, the center of galactic communications was dying. Chief Administrator Nelvin watched helplessly as his quantum communication network shut down piece by piece. Status report, he said weakly. Sir, we have lost communication with 47 star systems, his assistant reported. The quantum processors are failing faster than we expected. Without human maintenance, they cannot handle the processing load. How long until complete system failure? At the current rate, sir, we will lose all long-range communications within 2 weeks. Nelvin understood what this meant. Without communications, the galaxy would break apart into isolated worlds. Trade would stop, governments would collapse, billions of beings would be cut off from the rest of civilization. Sir, his assistant continued, we have received over 3,000 emergency requests for help. Worlds are reporting system failures, supply shortages, and infrastructure breakdowns. They all have one thing in common. Let me guess, Nelvin said sadly. They all depended on human-operated systems. Yes, sir, the pattern is clear now. Humans were not just doing simple work. They were running the essential systems that kept our civilization functioning. The assistant handed Nelvin a thick report. Sir, our analysis shows that humans were directly involved in 70% of all critical infrastructure. They designed it, built it, and maintained it. Without them, most of it simply does not work. Nelvin read the report with growing horror. Power plants were shutting down because human engineers were no longer there to run them. Hospitals were closing because human doctors had left. Schools were empty because human teachers had gone home, but the worst part was the food crisis. Humans had operated most of the large-scale farming operations in the galaxy. Without them, billions of beings were facing starvation on the planet Epsilon Eridani. Governor Mextel was dealing with this exact problem. His world depended completely on food imports from human-operated farms. Now those farms were closed. How much food do we have in storage? He asked his supply minister. Enough for 3 months if we ration carefully, came the grim reply. After that, people will start starving. Can we grow our own food? Sir, this planet's soil cannot support agriculture. That is why we have always imported food. The human farms were specifically designed to grow crops that could survive long space journeys. Governor Mextel looked out his window at the city below. Millions of beings lived there. In 3 months, they would start dying of hunger. What about buying food from other sources? The few remaining suppliers are charging prices we cannot afford, sir. They know we are desperate. This scene was repeating on hundreds of worlds. The aliens were discovering that humans had not just been doing busy work. They had been providing essential services that no one else knew how to do. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. For the first time in decades, every member species sent their top leaders. The Great Council chamber was packed with desperate aliens. Counselor Vexthara, who had dismissed human proposals just months before, stood before her peers with a very different message. Fellow council members, she began, we face the greatest crisis in galactic history. Our economy is collapsing. Trade has decreased by 60%. Industrial production is down 75%. 16 worlds have declared states of emergency. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Everyone was shouting at once. Some aliens were blaming each other. Others were demanding immediate action. Where did the humans go? Demanded the Etherian delegate. How does an entire species just disappear? They did not disappear, said a small voice from the back of the chamber. They left. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Advisor Kelton, a minor official who had worked with human trade representatives for many years. Explain, ordered Counselor Vexthara. Advisor Kelton stood up nervously. The humans did not break any laws or agreements. They simply finished their contracts and did not renew them. They honored every obligation they had. But why did they all leave at the same time? Asked the Drachmarian representative. Because we treated them badly, Advisor Kelton said quietly. For 30 years we insulted them. We dismissed their ideas. We told them they were not good enough to matter. We took their work for granted and gave them no respect. The chamber became very quiet. No one wanted to admit it, but they all knew Advisor Kelton was right. The humans built our civilization, he continued. They designed our technology. They grew our food, they powered our worlds, they protected our borders, and we thanked them by treating them like servants. Counselor Vexthara felt sick. Can we contact them? Can we negotiate their return? I have tried, Advisor Kelton said. But all human diplomatic offices have been closed. Their embassy is empty. They have cut all official communication with the Galactic Council. The truth was sinking in. The humans were not coming back. They had tried for 30 years to be accepted as equals. When that failed, they had quietly taken their knowledge and skills and left, and now the galaxy was paying the price for 30 years of arrogance and dismissal. What do we do now? Asked someone from the crowd. No one had an answer. For the first time in galactic history, the mighty Galactic Council was completely helpless. Outside the council chamber, the galaxy continued to fall apart. Systems failed, ships were stranded, worlds went dark, and somewhere in the void between galaxies, humanity was building something new, something the aliens would never control again. 9 months after the humans left, the galaxy was dying. Admiral Korthak of the Hegemony Defense Fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his sensors with growing despair. The screens showed dozens of red warning signals. Each one represented a disaster somewhere in his territory. Report, he said in a tired voice. Sir, the Raider clans have attacked 3 more convoys in the Vega sector, his tactical officer reported. They destroyed 12 cargo ships and captured 5 more. 432 beings are dead or missing. Admiral Korthak closed his eyes. Response time? 47 minutes, sir. By the time we arrived, the raiders were long gone. Before the humans left, his fleet could respond to pirate attacks in 12 minutes. The early warning systems had given them enough time to intercept raiders before they could escape. Now his ships were flying blind through space. The pirates know our sensors are down, his tactical officer continued. They are attacking targets they never would have dared to touch before. But the pirates were not the worst problem. Admiral Korthak looked at another part of his display where a much more frightening threat was growing stronger every day. Status on the swarm advance? He asked. His intelligence officer stepped forward with a grim expression. Sir, the swarm has consumed 12 more star systems this week. They are moving faster than ever before. The swarm was a hive mind species that wanted to eat everything in the galaxy. For 20 years, humans had maintained containment fields and monitoring stations that kept the swarm trapped at the edge of known space. Without those systems, the swarm was spreading like a disease. How many worlds have we lost to them? Admiral Korthak asked. 47 systems, sir. Nearly 2 billion beings are dead or assimilated. Admiral Korthak had fought wars his entire life, but he had never felt so helpless. His mighty fleet was breaking down. His weapons were running out of power. His ships could not get fuel or spare parts. And the enemies of civilization were growing stronger every day on the planet Epsilon Eridani. Governor Mextel faced a different kind of death. His world was starving. "Status report," he said to his emergency council. "Sir, food supplies will run out in 6 days," his supply minister reported. "We have managed to stretch our reserves as far as possible, but there is nothing left." Governor Mextel looked around the table at his advisors. They all looked thin and hungry. The government officials were eating the same reduced rations as everyone else. "What about the emergency food shipment from the Crystalline Federation?" "They canceled the order, sir. They said our credit rating is too poor to guarantee payment." "Credit rating?" Governor Mextal was confused. "Sir, without our industrial capacity, we cannot produce anything to trade. The humans took all the manufacturing equipment when they left. We have nothing of value to offer in exchange for food." Governor Mextal realized his world was not just running out of food, it was running out of everything that made modern civilization possible. "Sir," his supply minister continued, "there is something else. We have received reports of similar food shortages on 63 other worlds. The galactic food distribution system has completely collapsed." This was happening everywhere. Worlds that had depended on human-grown food were facing starvation. Worlds that had depended on human-manufactured goods had nothing to trade. The complex web of galactic commerce was unraveling. In the central trade hub, what was left of it, Administrator Nelvin was trying to coordinate relief efforts, but it was like trying to stop a flood with a bucket. "How many worlds have gone completely dark?" he asked his assistant. 137, sir. "We have lost all communication with them. We do not know if anyone is still alive." Nelvin looked at his tactical display. The galaxy that had once been connected by millions of communication links was breaking apart into isolated islands. Each world was fighting for survival alone. "What about evacuation efforts?" "Sir, most of the heavy transport ships were operated by human crews. The ships are still there, but no one knows how to fly them." Nelvin laughed, but there was no humor in it. The humans even took their pilots with them. "Yes, sir, the ships use human-designed control systems. Other species are trying to learn how to operate them, but it will take months or years. Months or years that the dying worlds did not have." Meanwhile, in the deepest parts of space, something even worse was happening. The swarm was not the only threat that human defenses had been holding back. Captain Zextile of the Border Patrol received a priority message that made his blood freeze. "Sir, long-range sensors have detected massive fleet movements in the Dark Nebula region." "The Dark Nebula?" Captain Zextile knew that name. "That is where the Devourer cult was banished 50 years ago." "Yes, sir. It appears they are returning. Our estimates suggest a fleet of over 3,000 ships." The Devourer cult was a fanatical religious group that believed all other life forms should be destroyed. They had been driven into exile decades ago by a coalition of species, but they had never been completely defeated. "How long until they reach inhabited space?" 6 weeks, sir, maybe less." Captain Zextal realized that the galaxy was about to face attacks from multiple directions. The swarm from one side, the pirates in the middle, and now the Devourer cult from another direction. And the galactic military forces were in no condition to fight any of them. "Sir," his communications officer interrupted, "we are receiving an emergency transmission from the Galactic Council." The message was from Counselor Vextara. She looked much older than she had 9 months ago. Her crystalline form was cracked and dim. "To all remaining defense forces," she said, "the Galactic Council hereby authorizes unlimited emergency powers to any military commander who can maintain order in their sector. Normal laws and regulations are suspended. Do whatever you must to protect civilian populations." The message continued, "We have lost contact with the majority of our member worlds. Galactic government is effectively suspended until communications can be restored. Each world and system is authorized to act independently for their own survival." Captain Zextal understood what this meant. The Galactic Council was admitting that they had lost control. The galaxy-wide government that had existed for hundreds of years was collapsing, but there was one more part of the message that caught his attention. We have also authorized a desperate measure, Counselor Vexthara continued. A single ship, the ESS Messenger, has been detected entering our space. It appears to be a human vessel. We are sending negotiators to attempt contact. Captain Zextal felt a small spark of hope. Maybe the humans were coming back. Maybe they could fix this disaster, but deep down he knew it was probably too late. The galaxy had spent 30 years taking human skills and knowledge for granted. Now, when they needed those skills more than ever, the humans were gone. On hundreds of worlds, beings were starving in the dark. Space lanes that had been safe for decades were now hunting grounds for pirates and worse. The great galactic civilization that had lasted for centuries was crumbling into primitive chaos. And somewhere in the void between galaxies, the humans were building something new. Something that would never again depend on the approval or respect of species that could not see their worth. The galaxy had learned too late that some things, once lost, can never be recovered. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. And some species, once dismissed, will never come back to save those who rejected them. The age of galactic unity was ending. The age of isolation and struggle had begun, and it was all because they took humanity for granted. 2 years after the humans left, the galaxy was a shadow of what it used to be. Fleet Admiral Zexila stood in the ruins of what had once been the Central Trade Hub, the great space station that had coordinated trade across 50 star systems. Was now a broken shell floating in space. Scavenger ships picked through the wreckage, looking for anything valuable they could sell. Report from all sectors, she ordered her aide. The aide looked at his datapad with sad eyes. Total economic collapse in the core worlds is now at 85%. The Outer Rim territories have gone back to primitive survival. Interstellar trade is down 92% from before the humans left. Admiral Zextula nodded grimly. She had seen the reports every day for months. Each one was worse than the last. Military situation? Worse, Admiral. The swarm has eaten 47 star systems. The pirate clans control most of the old trade routes. 3 member species have given up completely and dissolved their governments. The aide paused, then continued with excitement in his voice. But Admiral, there is something new. Our deep space sensors have detected unusual activity in the Andromeda region. Admiral Zextola looked at the holographic display her aide activated. The readings showed massive industrial operations. The energy signatures were bigger than anything their galaxy had ever produced. How long since the humans arrived there? She asked. About 18 months, Admiral. Admiral Zextola stared at the data in shock. 18 months to build all this? This shows more industrial capacity than our entire galaxy had at its peak. Yes, Admiral. Whatever the humans are building out there, it is impressive. What the aliens were seeing was the result of 30 years of human planning. While the aliens had dismissed and insulted them, humans had been preparing for this day. Every human colony ship had carried not just people, but entire factories compressed into storage containers. Every human engineer who had worked on alien systems had also been designing better versions. The humans had not just run away to Andromeda. They had rebuilt their entire civilization there, and they had made it better and stronger than anything they had left behind. On the colony world of New Terra, President Jake Morrison sat in his office looking out at a bustling spaceport. Jake had been Ambassador Morrison when he used to beg the Galactic Council for respect. Now he was the leader of a thriving human civilization. Ships bearing the flag of the United Colonies of Humanity filled the landing pads in the distance. Massive shipyards were building vessels that were more advanced than anything the old galaxy had ever seen. Sir, his assistant Lisa Harper said as she entered the office, we have received a priority transmission from the Milky Way galaxy. Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. After 2 years of silence, they want to talk. What do they say? Lisa handed him the message. They are asking for emergency help? The infrastructure collapse has reached critical levels. They are offering to negotiate new treaties and partnerships. Jake read the message carefully. It was from the Galactic Council, and it was very different from the dismissive communications he used to receive. This message was desperate. "They want food shipments to prevent mass starvation," Jake said, reading aloud. "They want technical experts to repair their failing systems. They want military assistance against the swarm and the pirates." Lisa nodded. "They are also offering what they call full partnership status and equal representation in all council decisions," Jake laughed. "Full partnership, equal representation. The same things we asked for 30 years ago, and they denied every single time." Through his office window, Jake could see the results of human independence. New Terra was a beautiful world with clean cities and advanced technology. The humans had built everything from scratch in just 2 years, and they had done it better than the aliens ever had. What should we tell them? Lisa asked. Jake thought for a long moment. He remembered all the insults and dismissals. He remembered being told that humans were not smart enough or strong enough to matter. He remembered 47 rejected proposals and 30 years of being treated like servants. "Draft a response," he finally said. "Tell them that the United Colonies of Humanity are willing to discuss relationships between independent civilizations. But make it clear that we are no longer seeking their approval or permission for anything." Jake stood up and walked to his window. "Also make it clear that any relationship must be between equals. We will not go back to being treated as junior partners or hired help." Lisa nodded and started to leave, but Jake called her back. "Add one more thing," he said. "Tell them that partnership is earned through mutual respect." They had 30 years to learn that lesson. They chose not to. The message was sent to the Milky Way galaxy, where it would arrive to find a civilization on the edge of complete collapse. In the ruins of the Galactic Council chambers, Counselor Vexthara received the human response. She read it 3 times before she fully understood what it meant. The humans were not coming back to save them. They were not going to rebuild the infrastructure that kept galactic civilization alive. They were not going to rescue the aliens from the disasters that their own arrogance had created. "What does this mean?" asked another council member. "It means we are on our own," Vexthara said quietly. "The humans have moved on. They have built a new civilization that does not need." "Yes?" Around the chamber, the few remaining council members sat in stunned silence. For hundreds of years, they had believed they were the center of galactic civilization. They had thought other species existed to serve them. Now they understood the truth. They had not been the leaders of galactic civilization. They had been its dependents. The humans had been the ones keeping everything running while the aliens took credit. "Can we rebuild without them?" someone asked. Vexthara looked at the reports on her desk. Billions of beings were dead from starvation, war, and system failures. Hundreds of worlds had gone dark. The great trade networks that had connected the galaxy for centuries were broken. "Eventually," she said, "maybe in 50 or 100 years, we can rebuild some of what we lost. But it will never be the same." She paused, looking around at the empty chamber that had once been filled with proud representatives from dozens of species. "We had the greatest civilization in galactic history," she continued. "We had peace, prosperity, and progress. And we threw it all away because we were too proud to treat our partners with respect." Meanwhile, in the Andromeda galaxy, human civilization was growing stronger every day. The humans had learned from their experience in the Milky Way. They built systems that were more efficient, more robust, and more advanced than anything they had left behind. President Jake Morrison often received reports about the situation in their old galaxy. Each report showed more collapse and suffering. Sometimes he felt sad about it. The aliens were not evil, just arrogant and foolish, but he never regretted the decision to leave. The humans had tried for 30 years to be good partners. They had worked hard, contributed their skills, and asked only for respect in return. When respect was denied, they had found their own path. "Sir," Lisa Harper said, entering his office with the latest intelligence report, "the situation in the Milky Way continues to deteriorate. Some estimates suggest it may take them 200 years to recover to pre-collapse levels." Jake nodded. And us? At our current rate of growth, we will surpass their peak civilization level within 5 years. Jake looked out at the thriving human cities and the busy spaceports. Then we chose correctly. The age of human subservience was over. The age of human independence had begun, and the galaxy that had taken humanity for granted would spend centuries regretting that choice. Some lessons, Jake thought, are only learned through loss. And some opportunities, once rejected, never come again. The humans had offered partnership. The aliens had demanded servitude. Now the humans were gone. And the aliens were learning to survive in the ruins of their own arrogance.